Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Encounter Live. I am Heather Tenney. I am one of the leaders here at Encounter Vineyard, and it is my pleasure every week to welcome you here. We got Dawn's little granddaughter scampering around back here today. And it is a gloriously beautiful morning out there today. The sun is high and bright. The temperatures are in the low 70s. There's a nice breeze going on out there. It is a gorgeous day. We have all the windows open here at Encounter, enjoying as much of that sunshine and that fresh air as we can. And we don't even have to have the fans on today. It's great. So I am Heather Tenney. I'm one of the leaders here at Encounter Vineyard. I would love to hear what's going on with you this week. Drop down in the comments. Let me know how your week's been. What have you been up to? Have you done anything fun this week? I got to go to a immersive art exhibit in Indianapolis with my friends this week, and it was just a glorious time. We were just immersed in the work of the Impressionists and had a great time. I would love to hear what's going on in your life. So please drop down in those comments and let me know how things are for you and what's going on with you. As always, we love to pray with you here at Encounter Vineyard. And so we have multiple ways that you can pray that you can receive prayer from us. So one is our members love to pray with each other. So if you want to drop in the comments what's going on with you, if you've got somebody that's sick or a job that you're worried about or something going on, you can put that in the comments and our members will pray with you right then and there. And many of them will keep praying for you week after week until you let us know how things are going. If during worship, at the end of the service, during our worship, we have prayer teams live online. There is a link up above, up at the top where it says welcome and all of that. There is a link there that you can click on, and I'm online during worship to pray with you at any time. And of course, you can always just drop us a message, and we will set up a time to pray with you one-on-one. We can pray with you right there in Facebook Messenger, or we can set up a time to meet with you and pray with you. So there's lots of options. If you've got things going on in your life that you need help with, we would love to pray with you over those. So tell me, how's your week been? What's going on? Let's go see. We got about 30 seconds left. We got Mr. Chris over there. We got Cliff. Hello. We're just going to wing around. Woo, we're just going to do a 360. Are you nauseous yet? All right. We got about 18 seconds. And if you didn't get to see last week's service, I encourage you to go back and see the message from last week. We had some big news that was shared at the end, but it is a phenomenal message that I think all of us can hear and see. And woo, we got babies here too. Yay! All right, Diane's ready. See you guys.
We just want to center ourselves on you right now. I know you have good things for us today. I just pray, Father, that you would help us to be open to hear you. Lord, release us from the distractions of life. Release us from our worries and our cares right now. Things that hold us down, I pray that you'd lighten our load.
Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. The sun sets free. Oh, it's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. has ransomed me. His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken, Lord. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Sing that again. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Yeah. I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I'm a child of God. Yes, I
Glad you guys are here. My name's John, co-pastoring here with Cliff. Good morning, Diane. If you're joining us online, super glad that you're here as well. It's really pleasant in here this morning. It feels delightful. We do have cold drinks and hot drinks, so if you want something to while you're going to listen this morning, love to have you. One thing that's coming up, want to make you aware of, we are planning a baptism celebration. So that we don't have all the details nailed down on that, but if that is of interest to you, we would love to be a part of that step in your spiritual journey. So reach out to Cliff or I, and we'll keep you in the loop when things get kind of nailed down for that. The other thing that's kind of a big announcement for us is we are actually in our final weeks of church here in the facility. So we've got a couple more regular celebrations. Sunday the 24th is going to be a special day of just honoring what God has done here and sharing food together, and we are really looking forward to that. So mark your calendars for that. If you haven't been able to join us in person, make time to show up for that. It'll be a lot of fun. So it's kind of a strange season for us to sit in here. It's been a couple decades of working in this field with you guys and seeing what God's done. And we're honestly incredibly blessed and honored, and it's just a different transition because it's not like we're not failing, we're not angry, we haven't, like things are not bad, we just feel like God's calling us to shift gears, and it's just different. So for Michelle and I, it's been, Sunday mornings are a big deal for her. And so we are well, what are we going to do on Sunday mornings? And for me, like being part of a body, being connected to people individually is still, that's what makes my heart beat. So for me, like, I'm like, let's get together, let's eat food and help each other grow and change and do this journey of becoming good apprentices of Jesus. That's really what we want to be about. And so we're going to kind of be on a journey ourselves. We'll be opening up our table. If you're interested in doing that journey with us and eating and helping each other become better disciples, talk to me. I want to be a part of that. And we will be, if you want to join us as we wander around the tri-state looking for a new Sunday morning hangout, like we're going to do that as well. So a little bit bittersweet, but for me, one of the things that I'm excited about is Jesus tells us always to pray for, he said the harvest is plentiful. Pray for the Lord of the harvest to send workers into the fields. And so I just feel like we've been investing in this body and you guys in doing that, in creating hearts that have capacity to love and honor and care for their neighbors and their coworkers and the other soccer parents that are driving around in minivans for hours every weekend to games and all that stuff. And you have the capacity to bring the kingdom into that. And I am excited for what God has for us as he sows us as seeds into his field. Like, that is just a really exciting proposition for me, and I can't wait to hear those stories. So a little bit different, a little bit challenging, but all in all, like, we just are really confident of God's faithfulness and his leadership in this, and we're trying our best to be obedient to that. So with that, I just want to invite you to stand up and tell somebody you're really glad they're here this morning.
Good morning, you guys. Glad you are here. If you're watching online, thank you. I know it feels a little awkward. It feels a little awkward for me after having a message saying we're going to be closing the church and then just try to pick up things and let God do what he's going to do normally. But God has continued through this whole process to meet us and been involved with us. And that's my prayer always, is that you guys encounter God. And so wherever you are in this journey, whatever's going on, we still want God's kingdom to come. We're praying that this morning you'll encounter God in a very real way. But we are going to go back to a series we started, and it's about telling the truth. And I don't know if you've ever said this, just tell me the truth. Just tell me the truth. Maybe you've said it to your kids, tell me the truth. Your spouse, tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. I don't know if you've said that. I got to tell you, as a kid, I was really good at lying. I lied a lot. I lied, because I didn't want to get in trouble. Cliff, did you break this? It wasn't me. I don't know how it happened, right? I lied because I didn't want to be embarrassed. I wanted people to think better of me. Cliff, is this your magazine? I don't know how that got in the bathroom. It's not mine. I would lie because I didn't want to ruin a friendship. Hey, Cliff, did you tell Mike what I told you not to say? No, I would never tell him that. Sometimes I just lied because it was easier than telling the whole complicated truth. Cliff, where were you? No, I was just hanging out at James's house. As a kid, I lied because it was easy. It was good. It was quick. You didn't get in trouble. And I was fairly good at it. I didn't get caught lying very often. Evidently, I'm not so good anymore. My kids, my wife, they get, you got that face. I got evidently a smirk on my face now when I try to lie. So, or at least they think I do. I throw them off with that But I found as an adult, you think of that as kids lying. As an adult, I think we lie for many of the same reasons. We don't want to get in trouble, right? I sent that report yesterday. I emailed it to you. I don't know why you didn't get it. We lie because we are a little embarrassed and we want people to think better of us. No, I only had one drink yesterday, that's all. We lie because we don't want to ruin a relationship. Those pants look great on you. We lie just because we don't want to go into the whole long story of it. Yeah, I was just hanging out at James's house. So we're going to do a series. We've been doing this series called Speak Truth. And in this series, we've been talking about the different ways we need to be able to experience truth. And the very first week, I talked about the way we deceive ourselves, that sometimes we're not even self-aware enough of ourselves to know. So we have to ask God to reveal things to us, to reveal the truth to us, so that he can change us and help us. In that week, I talked about Michael Scott having a mug that said "World's Greatest Boss," and if you ever seen The Office, he's not. And after I mentioned that, someone bought me this mug, "World's Best Pastor," and so I'm sitting it right here, just so you know, in case you have any doubts about me. But anyways, and then I talked about the fact that one of the things about speaking truth is we have to speak truth to ourselves about ourselves, specifically about our identity, who we really are, what we're really like, and who our identity is based on what God says about us, not sometimes the lies we believe the enemy says about us, or we tell ourselves about us, or culture says about us. And so we talked about that. And so this week, where we're finally getting to, is usually what you think about when you talk about telling the truth, and that's about telling other people the truth. And we want people to tell us the truth, too. We don't want people to lie to us. When I go to the mechanic, I don't want the mechanic to lie to me about how much this is going to cost, that he's just going to lie, and I feel like I don't have any control over that. Is he lying to me of what's wrong and how much is this going to cost? We want our politicians to tell us the truth, right? We don't want our politicians to lie to us. We want them just to tell us what's the truth. We want our bosses, we want our employees, we want family members, our kids. We want people to tell the truth to us, and yet people lie. People lie. One of my studies, one of the favorite studies, is about telling the truth, and it's about, they took a bunch of people, they divided them up in pairs, they sat them down, and for 10 minutes they just had a conversation with this stranger and just got to introduce yourself, tell you people about them, have them tell you about themselves, and then they videotaped it, and then they had the person sit down by themselves and go through and count how many times they actually lied in a 10-minute conversation. And you know how much the average was? 9 lies in 10 minutes. 9 lies in 10 minutes. People lie. Well, I could just be lying about that. Maybe the study never really happened. You don't know. I don't have that smirk on my face, okay? See, but people lie all the time. They do. And we know it's wrong, right? Why do you need to have a sermon, Cliff, on lying? I mean, everyone knows that. I mean, the Bible does talk about it. It says this in Ephesians. Paul says this: "Stop telling lies. Let us tell our neighbors the truth, for we are all parts of the same body." We know that, right? Okay, Cliff, can't the message be over? Let's just go. But I think God has something for us here, and so I'm just going to ask you to join with me and pray before we get started into this. So, Father, I just thank you so much that you, Jesus, are the truth. And I pray, Lord, that you would send your Spirit here today and that you would lead us and guide us into all truth. I pray, Lord, the things that I speak today would be true and helpful and freeing for all of us. I pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen. Lies can be painful, can't they? When you find out somebody lied about something that's really important, something big, it feels like a betrayal, it feels hurt. We know we shouldn't lie, but often we do. Matter of fact, when we think about lying, what I think about is, why do we lie? And why is it so important that we don't lie? Because if everyone lies sometimes, if it's a very natural thing to do, maybe there's really nothing wrong with it. It just makes things work better. But I think at the heart, the challenge is why we tell people not to lie, why we don't want them to lie, is because, well, one of the things that we talk about here so much, some of the most important things that God has for us, he wants us to know is, well, like Jesus said, you can hang all the commands of the prophets and the law on these two commands. You can sum up everything God was trying to tell us by this: learn to love God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to learn to love your neighbor like yourself. It seems like what Jesus is saying is that the most important thing you need to understand is all about relationships. Learning to love God, learning to love other people, having that thing go on, love. And here's the problem with lies. You can only love somebody, or love can only happen in true relationship. And when we're lying, we lie for a couple reasons, mainly, I think. One of the main reasons is, like I said, we don't want to get in trouble, we're embarrassed, we want you to think better of us, so we lie to present a different image of ourselves. We prefer an illusion of ourselves, of who we are, than who we really are in real life. And here's the challenge: when we're presenting an illusion, this is who I am, and someone loves that image, that illusion, they're really not loving you. They're not loving me. And so you can't really have that true love relationship if they don't know who you are. I think that's one of the reasons why lying is bad, because you're presenting yourself as something different than you are. Another reason we lie a lot is because we don't respect the other people. We don't see them as created in the image of God, and so we look at them as somebody we can use. I lie to this person so I can save myself some money, or I lie to this organization. I lie so I can get myself money. We lie to manipulate people so we get what we want out of them. I had a boss who lied to their employees all the time just to make his life easier. He didn't see them as people. He saw them as work units who could make his life easier or better, so he had no difficulty just lying to them because he didn't respect them. They weren't people. And when we lie, I think we fall in that two categories. I don't really care about you, respect you, and I want you to think better of me. I want you to, and in either of those cases, we can't have a true spiritual relationship with somebody when we're acting like that. Now, I think generally we know, like I said, lying is bad. So that's not where I want to spend most of my time. But the interesting thing to me is often when we talk about telling people the truth, that's what we think about. We think about, don't lie to them. Don't lie to me. And we may answer, I'm not lying. I'm just not telling them everything. And what we're going to mainly talk about today is not the stop lying part of that verse. If we could bring that verse up here again, it says, stop telling lies, which is important, but he says, let us tell our neighbors the truth, for we are all parts of the same body. There's a big difference between lying and telling the truth. See, to speak the truth, you have to speak. Let me just give you some examples, and I'm just picking names, so these aren't stories anyone's told me. I don't want to use a name. So I'm just picking names of people I know who don't go here, okay? Just so these are just general situations, so don't feel picked on personally. But here's the deal. So Frank, he his spouse comes home from work late frequently, and it bothers him. He gets angry about it, but he doesn't want to say anything because he's trying to do the good Jesus thing and be a peacemaker. And so he doesn't speak up, and yet their relationship suffers because of it. Pam goes to lunch with several of her friends from work, and as they're at lunch, they're sitting gossiping about the boss, saying all the bad things about the person, but Pam actually kind of thinks the boss is a good boss. And she doesn't like what they're saying. But she doesn't want to be one of those people who's going to speak up and defend the boss when it's going to ruin the atmosphere. So she just keeps quiet. Joe, going out to dinner with some people, some friends, and money's really tight for him right now, so when he goes to dinner, he just orders a salad, but the friends, man, you know, it's a big for them, so they're buying appetizers and steaks and drinks and desserts, and then when the meal's over and the check comes, you know, somebody's just suggested, you know what, it's just be easier, let's just divide this up equally rather than trying to figure out who this belongs to. And Joe is dying inside, but he doesn't say anything. Ellen loves her parents very much, but every time she goes over, there's conflict, there's tension in the house because they're always critical of her life choices. Ellen doesn't say anything because she doesn't want to hurt their feelings. She just wants to keep the peace. See, in all these situations, none of these people are lying, are they? None of them are lying. But none of them are speaking the truth. There's a difference between not lying and speaking the truth. And it's hard. We can sometimes go, I'm okay with not lying. But to speak the truth is sometimes a really hard thing to do. Matter of fact, Paul talks about it as the difference kind of between being an infant and being a mature adult. He says this, in Ephesians also, he says, then we will no longer be infants. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ. There's a difference between being an infant and being a mature person. And one of the things Paul says, a sign of that spiritual maturity for us, is that we've learned to speak the truth in love. The challenge, we know this. If I'm going to speak the truth in love, it's going to cause problems. It's going to cause conflict. It's going to cause things to get out of control. And so I don't want that. I want peace. So I'm just not going to speak up. I totally understand that. But if we're going to have true relationships with people, we have to be able to speak the truth in love. We have to be able to learn to say the truth in love. And honestly, I think the path to true relationship, the path to maturity, is learning to embrace conflict. Not cause conflict. I just want to be clear. I'm not saying stir up the stuff. I'm saying being willing to embrace it, realize that when I speak the truth, it may lead to conflict, and so we have to do this. But we don't like that. We're not good at it. We don't handle it. Some people love conflict, it seems. They yell and scream all the time, and I don't think that's handling conflict well. We'll talk about that a little bit here. But generally, I think for most people, speaking up is hard. We don't want to do it because of the conflict we're going to face. So where we're going to go to and spend most of our time here is getting some very practical advice, I think, from Jesus and from Jesus's brother James, as they tell us how to deal and address conflict. So, we'll give this a shot this morning, and let's go from here. Jesus says this, if another believer sins against you, and we're going to kind of take this passage slow. So where I want to start with is, when someone sins against you, what does it mean when someone sins against you? Sinning against you just means that you've done something to hurt that person. They've done something to hurt you. You can sin against yourself, you can sin against God, you're doing things that are hurtful or destructive to other people or to yourself, your relationships. And so if someone does something to you, he says, okay, if someone sins against you, this is the setting, and this is talking about someone you're in a relationship with in some way. Here, he's not saying you got to do this with a stranger on the street, but somebody that you have a relationship with. He says this, go privately and point out the offense. Now, Jesus is direct. Here's what you need to do. Someone did something against you. You know what he doesn't say? Just forgive them, let it go, water under the bridge, don't worry about it. No, he says you need to go and talk to him privately and point out his offense. You can't just let it go. See, Jesus understands the importance of true relationship. If someone does something that hurts you, you're feeling hurt by it, you need to go talk to that person. You need to talk directly to that person. He doesn't say, you know what you need to do? Someone sins against you, let your spouse know everything that person did, and so they can tell you how you are right and they are a horrible person. He doesn't say, go call all your friends and tell them what this other person did. He doesn't say, go on social media and post what a jerk this person is. He says, go directly, privately to that person and tell them what was wrong. And he says, now if they listen, that's great. He says, if that other person listens and confesses it, you've won that person back. See, that's what Jesus is concerned about relationship, that this is really important. You need to do it so you can get back in relationship. If you just try to forget about it or just forgive it, you don't want to address it, things aren't going to change. That relationship is not going to be that relationship that we need with people. And so you need to say something. Now, the really, really hard part comes next, because you go to them and then they say, oh yeah, I did that, but look what you did. Well, sure, I did that because this. They're not confessing they did anything wrong. They don't think they're totally justified, or they totally deny it. And so what do you do then? Then do you just let it go? Well, I've tried. But Jesus says this, if you're unsuccessful, take one or two others with you and go back again so that everything may be confirmed by 2 or 3 witnesses. He says, hey, if this isn't working out for you, you can't just drop it. This is important. Get some people. Now's the time you go get some friends. You get somebody to sit down with you and help you. Let 2 or 3 witnesses confirm everything. That's kind of like from a legal thing, but the idea behind it is, hey, you may get there and you're telling your story, she's telling her story, he's telling his story, and then what happens is the person goes, oh, no, what? No, they're not wrong, you're wrong. You know, you were oversensitive. You responded the wrong way. They might say, oh, you both have problems here. Diane and I were struggling, I know, use your wild imagination. Sometimes we've had difficulty. Married. We've been married a long time. You have conflict in relationships. And so we were at a point where we both thought we were right, and we didn't know how to get past it. And so we went, and we didn't go to 2 or 3 people, but we asked a friend. We went to talk to somebody else and sat down with him, and he helped us both see something we hadn't seen before. He talked to us about love languages. And we realized that this was a life changer for us in our relationship. We needed that outside perspective in this. Now, I understand we are so individualistic. I do not want to invite somebody else into my conflicts. I'll go and tell my other friends what a jerk they are, but I'm not inviting them in to tell me and help me fix it. I just want them to tell me what a wonderful person I am and how much I suffer at that other person's hand. But Jesus is saying this is so important, and if you're going to be mature, not an infant, but if you're going to be mature, you need to learn to speak the truth in love. And so this involves maybe bringing somebody in who can do this. And hopefully that fixes it, but Jesus knows that that's not always going to fix it then, because even if other people go, oh yeah, no, you really do have a problem there, and the person goes, no, I don't, just get out of here. Why mind your own business? What do you do then? Well, Jesus says this, if that person still refuses to listen, take the case to the church. And then if he or she won't accept the church's decision, treat that person as a pagan or a corrupt tax collector. I think what Jesus is saying here is you still can't let it go. You may need to get some professional help. You know, that's what he talks about when he goes, bring it to the church. Let's bring it into a little more formal situation where we can address this issue. Maybe you need to go to a counselor. Maybe you need to go to HR. Maybe you need to go to, get some other people involved, your parents or something. I don't know. You have to step it up. And then he says he knows this doesn't mean it's going to fix the issue. And what you need to know is at that point, you're going to have to draw some kind of boundary. You're going to have to treat that person different than you treated them before. That before you saw them as a fellow believer, now he's saying treat them like a pagan or tax collector. What does that mean? Well, first of all, for Jesus, treating pagans and tax collectors was never be mean to them. It was never be insulting to them. It was never be derogatory to them. It was about, hey, this person, our relationship's just not going to be the same. There's going to be some kind of boundary here in our relationship now. I think Jesus understood. Jesus is trying to convince us that this idea of relationship is so important, true relationship, that you can't let things that are untrue, that are hurtful, continue to exist in them. You have to speak up. Tell the truth, even if it leads to conflict, even if down the road it causes you to have to put a barrier up, some boundary up and say, we just can't have the same kind of relationship. Jesus is willing to risk that for us to have an honest and true relationship with other people. So now how do we have that? Say we decide to do what Jesus says to do, and we decide, okay, I want to go and have, I have, well, I haven't done this for a long time. I have my list. I hope no one has me on their list, but I have my list of the people. So I'm deciding I'm going to go talk to somebody, and how do I do that? Do I go in? Jesus said, point out your offense, so let me go in. Let me tell you what you did wrong. Is that how we do it? James has some very good wisdom on how to handle these situations. James, the brother of Jesus, tells us this. He says, dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. I think one of the things James is saying here is when we go into these situations where somebody has hurt us, or we have conflict in a situation, first of all, we don't react. We're going to take time to listen and respond. We're going to listen and respond. So, very practically, okay, how do I approach this conversation? Because no one ever told me or taught me how to have these conversations. How do I do that? Well, I go to this person and maybe I say, hey, when you do X, I feel Y. I needed someone to teach me how to say that because I did not know how to say that years ago. When you do this, I feel this. And then you listen. Hopefully, as James says, everybody should be listening in this situation. But often what happens when you go and you say that in private to the person, when you act this way, when you do this to me, when you say that, I feel this. They may get defensive, they may get argumentative, they may fight back, they may do something else. What do you do at that point? We learn from Jesus, you can't just quit. You can't just give up. So what do? I think you need to listen. James said, be quick to hear, slow to speak. So I'm going to try to listen to what you're saying. Now, what does he mean by listen? It doesn't mean just hear the words so you can argue back. It is you're going to try to listen so you can understand, right? When the Bible talks about listening, that's what it's talking about, understanding, not hearing, but hearing with your heart, understanding what's going on. And so then, just a very helpful thing is sometimes, so when I told you that, what I hear you saying, and just repeat it back. It's amazing how helpful that can be. And it begins that process of being quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. I have found, and I think what James is pointing out here, and what many other people have found, is anger in us is a trigger. It's something in there telling us something's wrong, but it lets us know that we need to be careful also how to handle this. Because our natural response with anger is to just lash out. And James says, hey, that's never going to get you to where God wants you to get to. It's not going to achieve the righteousness of God. And so what do you do in that situation? Well, I think some of the things you need to do is I found for myself is I need to check my assumptions. Whenever I get angry, for some reason, somebody did something to me, and I get angry, I have to check, why am I so angry about this? Why does this bother me so much? And sometimes I have wrong assumptions. So if I'm sitting on the couch watching TV and Diane says, hey, the light bulb in the hall is out, and I find myself suddenly getting really angry, and I start thinking, why am I so angry? I suddenly realize I've had a lot of assumptions in here. I'm assuming what she's saying is, hey, Cliff, get off your lazy butt and come change this light bulb. And I'm thinking, what's your arm broken? Can't you change the light bulb? And I have all these assumptions in there. And what I need to do is stop and be slow to speak and just say, hey, when you told me the light bulb was out, was that because you wanted me to change it? No, I was just telling myself that so that I could remember to change it later. Or, yes, I wanted you to change it because I'm busy doing this right now and it would really help. But at least I check it out and it works. The assumptions help. That anger is a sign for me that I need to check my assumptions. Along that lines is I know in these relationships I need to speak my expectations. Speaking the truth in love means you need to tell people what your expectations are. So many arguments, conflicts happen because of people assume, or they have that expectation, that this is the way things are going to work. We have expectations about how people are going to celebrate holidays. We have expectations, your boss has expectations about how you're going to do your job. You have expectations of your boss, of what he's going to do. We have these expectations, and often they're maybe even unrealized, they're unspoken, they're unagreed upon, and they can be around all kinds of things. They can be around the kind of work that needs to be done. They can be done, expectations about gender roles. They can be expectations about, anything, how you do church. John Wimber, I remember, he shared about walking down the hallway at church between services, and he was going somewhere, and somebody got really mad at him because he didn't stop and say hello to them. And when he told that story, there's total unexpressed expectations. This guy had an expectation, well, you're a pastor of the church, so you need to stop and say hi and talk to everybody. Well, John, that wasn't his expectation. That wasn't something he agreed to. And so he didn't get the mug for world's best pastor. But, he had and I love his response. Well, it's a good thing you don't come to this church for me, you come to church for Jesus. So, but we have expectations and we get angry when we feel that anger happen. And sometimes, I know you've seen this in other people, that their anger is way out of proportion to what you think would be normal. What I like to think of that is kind of like an allergy. You know how maybe everybody can eat peanuts, but if this person eats peanuts, they have a huge reaction? Often, we are like that. We have some kind of allergy. We find ourselves in a situation, and we're not sure why, but we suddenly have this huge reaction. It's an allergy to something. We may not even realize what it is, what's causing this huge thing to blow up in us. But we need to be aware that whatever that is isn't going to accomplish the righteousness of God. I had a friend who came to me and said, "Hey, Cliff, whenever my wife wants to go hang out with some friends, I get so mad." He goes, "I do not know why I get so angry. I think it's good she has friends, that she goes hangs out with people. I do not know why when she says she's going to do, I feel like, she should want to be with me and hang out with me. Why is she wanting to go hang out with her friends? And I just get all this anger in me." And as we just talked and listened, and turned out, lo and behold, he's had several relationships where people who had been his friends or in relationship with him started hanging out with other people, and he just slowly drifted out of the picture, and he was suddenly gone. And so he was finding and realizing that he had this hurt that we needed to allow God in to touch, to heal, so that he wouldn't have this overreaction in these situations. Speaking truth is a challenging thing. It does lead to conflict. And we're not good at dealing with conflict, but we can get better. We're not going to do it great, but we need to try because we want to grow up. It is much better to be mature in this situation. I was thinking about that verse where it says this: "You will no longer be infants. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become, in every respect, the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ." And I was thinking about kids. Kids, they're content and happy as long as they get what they want when they want it, but they unravel quickly from stress and disappointments. When someone disagrees with them, they often see it as a personal attack. When we're not getting our way, people who are spiritually children complain, withdraw, manipulate, seek revenge, become sarcastic. It's how they deal with it. They expect others to change to make them happy, and they have great difficulty calmly discussing something when they have all this anger in them. There's nothing wrong with being a kid when you're a kid. There's nothing wrong with being an immature Christian when we're an immature Christian, but we don't want to stay there. We want to grow up. We want to be at a place where we become mature, where we're able to ask for what we need, want, and prefer clearly, directly, and honestly, when we can recognize, manage, and take responsibility for our own thoughts and feelings. We can, even when we're under stressful situations, state our own values and beliefs without arguing. We can respect others without having to change them. And we appreciate people for who they are, not who we want them to be. We understand our own limits, strengths, and weaknesses, and can freely discuss them without being defensive. I got to tell you, I want to grow up. I want to be mature. And I think the path to that kind of maturity is speaking the truth in love and learning to embrace the conflict that comes along with it. Diane's going to lead us in worship, but we're going to start. I'm going to invite the Spirit here. We're just going to pray. And Lord, I know we mess up this all the time. We haven't been good at this. I'm thankful for my brothers and sisters who are excellent at this, who have grown up into this. I pray that you would help us all, Lord, and give us the grace and mercy to grow from those infants to the mature people you want us to be. I thank you again for the examples of maturity and grace here. And I just pray, Lord, that whatever area you are putting your finger on, Spirit, today, whatever point that you're touching with, we would surrender to you. And I pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
God, in my living, there in my breathing, God in my waking, God in my sleeping, God in my resting, there in my working, God in my thinking, God in my speaking, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything. God in my hoping, there in my dreaming, God in my watching, God in my waiting, God in my laughing, there in my weeping, God in my hurting, God in my healing, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything. Christ in me, Christ in me, Christ in me, the hope of glory. You are everything. Yes, Christ in me, Christ in me, Christ in me, the hope of glory. Be my everything. 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 Be everything I need, Lord. God in my living, there in my breathing, God in my waking, God in my sleeping, God in my resting, there in my working, God in my thinking, God in my speaking, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything, be my everything. Be my everything. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, your presence, my life. Yeah. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true Son. man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only, first in my heart. High King of heaven, my treasure thou art. High King of heaven, thy victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, oh bright heaven's sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, oh ruler of all. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, your presence my light. Lord, I think about how Cliff shared how people lie and yet you are truth. Lord, would you help us to look to you? You are all things that are true. Father, if we would allow you to be our vision, and if we would allow you to be the thing that leads us, if we would allow you to be everything to us, Lord, whether we're sleeping or waking, whether we're resting or working, that all our thoughts would be on you, Lord. That, Father, lying would be the last thing from us because we are like you. You tell us to be quick to listen, so Lord, I just want us to take a moment while we listen to you. Will you speak to us now, Lord Jesus? Speak now, Jesus, your servant is listening. Come now, Lord Jesus, reveal your heart to me. I'll still my heart and set it apart, for your words bring peace to my wandering soul, and I will wait for you. you're the great I am. Breath of life, I breathe you in. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you. You are strong in my brokenness, sovereign over every step. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you. From beginning to the end, all my life is in your hands. This whole world may hold me down, but it can never drown you out. I'm not merely flesh and bone. I was made for something more. You are God, you're the great I am. Breath of life, I breathe you in. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you. You are strong in my brokenness, sovereign over every step. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you. Through the dark, I hear your voice. Rising up, I will rejoice. I was lost, but now I'm found. Even death can't hold you down. I'm not merely flesh and bone. I was made for something more. You are good, you're the great I am. Breath of life, I breathe you in. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you. You are strong in my brokenness, sovereign over every step. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you. It's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives within me. Christ who lives within me. From beginning to the end, you deserve the glory. You deserve the glory. It's no longer I who live, Christ who lives within me. Christ who lives within me. From beginning to the end, you deserve the glory. You deserve the glory. You are God, you're the great I am. Breath of life, I breathe you in. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you. You are strong in my brokenness, sovereign over every step. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you. I'm alive in you, Lord. You are God, you're the great I am. Breath of life, I breathe you in. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you. You are strong in my brokenness, sovereign over every step. Even in the fire, I'm alive in you.
Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, let the truth go with you that you are not merely flesh and bone, that you are made for more. You are made for a divine purpose. Go from this place and serve your divine purpose in the world around us. Amen. Guys, bless you. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you again, same time, same bat channel. Oh, and so look at Cliff's mug. It says world's best pastor. Does that remind you of Elf when he went to the coffee shop and it said world's greatest cup of coffee? And he's like, congratulations, you did it. Good for you. Congratulations, Cliff. Good for you.